Hi, everyone, and welcome to Golf's Next Gen, the official podcast of the American Junior Golf Association. My name is Tim Jackman. I am the Vice President of Communications at the AJGA. That's Thomas Harrison over there. He is in charge of some operations things somewhere in this building.
Just a few.
And we're here for another episode 5 of Season 2, actually, which I think is our, 14th or 15th episode total. It's kind of hard to believe.
We're racking them up, Tim. We're bumping up these numbers, and we're getting bigger and better every time, so really can't complain.
We got some great guests in the pipeline, and we have a good one here today, too. Scarlett Schremmer is going to join us, very accomplished junior golfer. I think she's actually just wrapping up a round today out there at an state amateur event, so it'll be good to have her on here in a little bit as well. You doing good, Thomas?
No, everything's been good. The summer season kicking off. Feels like it's been a while since we've recorded, but have to be back in the seat here and just going through some of these past results, Tim. We've had a lot of exciting finishes here to start the summer season.
Yeah, 100%. I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Charlie Woods winning the Team TaylorMade Invitational, which was pretty incredible, and just the absolute maniac day that was in the AJGA PR world. I think we had just about every major news organization in the world talking about Charlie and him winning that event, and obviously some great publicity for the AJGA and some of the other great stuff that we're doing. I think when we calculated everything up, we were looking at about 66 million people were reached by that story, and with AJGA mentions along with Charlie. So really great kid. I actually was able to be on site there for that event, and it was just cool to see him win, and just kind of an eerie cool moment though. With him winning and just everything his dad's kind of gone through as well with the AJGA. So really cool stuff there with some of the past things as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's obviously a name that the golf world has had their eyes on since really the first time played the PNC, and it was
a lot of
all
pressure.
all the pressure. You want to talk about a kid that has had pressure on them. I mean, we've talked about so many times with different guests, like the pressure that some of these kids face, whether it's from just an outside source, their parents, and you like to think Charlie probably not as much, doesn't sound like as much pressure from his father, but just from the outside world, like all the pressure that was put on him as just, your dad is the best golfer that's ever played the game. How are you going to follow that up? Like how is anyone supposed to be expected to follow that up? And then to come out of here and, I don't want to say come out of nowhere, but just in this field, you certainly look at the beginning, it's hard to say he was a favorite coming in. And then
Right.
He just comes out, and that first round scorecard was wild.
Yeah.
And he just put himself in a good position. Then the last 2 days just chipped away and brought it home, and was able to end up winning it by 3 shots, which very impressive, tough track, and a great field to get that first victory in.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that he was in the last couple groups with, Miles Russell, Luke Colton, like some of these guys that are really good, Tyler Watts. So it was really cool. And some great finishes all around. I mean, we had the Mizuho LPGA AJGA event as well, which was pretty cool to finish there, and just some really great events kind of going off in the summer season. It's been good so far. Been dealing with a lot of weather. I noticed that lately, a lot of weather going on with just everybody getting a lot of rain, I guess. So that's a little tough. But we saw a little rain this weekend too, didn't we?
Like I said, even Mizuho battled through it. Like I always mentioned, one of the cooler events that we have, and always cool getting the TV coverage of that final round. And then this past weekend watching the Open and some of those conditions, it was a battle out there, but I think it was kind of a good pivot from what we've seen recently on the PGA and LPGA tour, where all of these events, it seems like the winner is like, if you're not getting close to 20 under, you don't have a shot at it.
Yep.
And so this one was cool to see, because I think, and I don't know, this might be kind of a hot take, but I feel like it's easier for the mid-level pro to compete in an event that stays right around par than it is for like that mid-level golfer to go 20 deep, because it just keeps everyone in play.
I mean, you and I talked about this, but some of these guys being able to, like, that guy's a scorer, right? We know that guy can go rip 6-7 birdies in a row. I think we talked about with like Blades or something like that. Mm-hmm. But like we know that those guys can do it, but what I think the harder conditions really do, to your point, those guys don't have the chance to go on like a 7 birdie streak, right? They have to just grind it out and get around the golf course, and that, I think it does compact the field a little bit.
Yeah, like you see a lot of very good collegiate golfers that have extremely successful collegiate careers that maybe don't necessarily translate to professional golf because, like I said, they just can't go as deep. They don't have maybe as much of that firepower to go on a run like that, where in tough conditions like this, if you can just stay right around par and just not make mistakes, those golfers have a chance to come and elevate and compete there. And I think that's what you saw with that leaderboard on the last day. I mean, there was so much movement, But there was at one point during that like third round, you start early in the final round, you're like, some of these names are guys you never probably would have expected to see up towards the top in a typical major.
Yeah.
And so it was refreshing to watch. Obviously, I think the finish, that 64-foot putt to be the lone guy under par, I think that was a super cool finish. Just
wild.
Even
on those greens.
Yeah, just being the one guy who was able to go under par is cool, even if it's just one under. But it was just a cool moment to finish. And I did think it was kind of funny, like you're watching the broadcast, he's a winner, and it's like there's still a group behind him. Like they're freaking out, they're playing, there's still a group of guys that are on the course need to finish. So it was cool to see, happy for him. Just a great story, everything he's kind of battled through and really through all the stages of golf, whether it's PGA Tour Americas, Korn Ferry, losing the tour card, getting it back, and now being a major champion is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, great story. It also kind of launched him up on the Ryder Cup standings as well. I mean, he's all the way up to third on the Ryder Cup, JJ is. So kind of cool to see him move up there. And I know you and I were looking at the Ryder Cup standings a little bit before this. It's very, very much an interesting Team USA right now, given the kind of where golf is at this year, just with so many different winners and different people, making runs. One thing that I think is really funny is that Scotty has already qualified, and he's like, I mean, not even remotely close to anybody as far as points go.
Yeah,
Can't catch him.
His points, Rory is a couple in front, but as far as like Team USA, yeah. He is more than double Xander, who's in second there. And so it's just another, like we talked about, kind of a stranger leaderboard at the U.S. Open. It's a strange leaderboard on this Ryder Cup team. I think like a year ago, if you gave us this list of the top 12 right now for that Ryder Cup team, you would be like, there's no shot. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes with the captain's picks. Do you take some of these guys who've been playing well? Do you take the experience?
Right.
Like, it's just, you look at this a year ago and you tell me that JJ Spawn's going to be an automatic qualifier looking like.
Right.
I would have called you crazy.
Right.
But him, some of his other guys, the next six in at this point, Russell Henley, Ben Griffin, Maverick McNeely, Harris English, Andrew Novak, and Brian Harmon. Like, those are names you probably didn't expect to see this time 2 years ago when we were talking about the Ryder Cup team.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to, there's going to be some tough decisions because there's some guys on there that probably, that are deserving of it given how they're playing right now. But right outside that number, you've got guys with experience like Sam Burns, Cam Young, obviously Keegan Bradley, captain, possibly making himself a pick. He's at number 17 right now. You got Tony Finau inside the top 20, Lucas Glover inside the top 20. So you got all these guys who have all this experience, and it's like, all right, well, what kind of team is Keegan trying to build? What time he's obviously trying to win and kind of set some wrongs over the last few, but like, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. We got a few months here before it has to make those decisions. So I'm sure it'll shake out, but
no, it'll be tough. I mean, that European team, they're going to bring it. Europeans have always historically just been better in team golf.
Yeah. Very edgy.
Just in Europe, I think we talked about, and I forget, it might've been an interview at the last, President's Cup of the international team, just talking about internationally team golf is so much more prevalent, playing four ball, playing foursomes than it is in the States. And so they're just kind of more used to it. But like, you look at that team and there's some names in that top 12 right now. Like there's some guys who have the experience, but they're playing some pretty dang good golf right now. And then you've got a guy like John Rahm, who's currently at 17. You have to think there's no way he's not on the team. Like he's taking the spot from somebody that's played very well, but that's because it's John Rahm.
Right.
Like he finishes well.
Yeah, have him on the team.
Yeah. So definitely interested to see that. Like to think the fans in New York will make that one a little interesting for Team Europe, but certainly excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, probably enough talk from us, I think, at this point. So let's go ahead and bring Scarlett on and talk to her a little bit about some stuff that she's going on. So Scarlett, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, you're playing the Alabama Women's State Am, is that correct?
Yep, playing today. 4 under today, so a couple more days left.
Well, hopefully it goes well for you and we don't jinx you.
Yeah, off to a good start. I know when we were chatting before this, you mentioned you just got delayed on 18 green, have one putt left, and that can't be the easiest thing mentally, especially when you're just standing over it ready to go. But
yeah,
you got it in the hole 4 under.
Down to line up my putt, and there was a lady. She's like, "Get off the green now! You can't be putting this out." I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry."
Hey, don't be mean to the rules officials. We have to do what we have to do. You got to be kind.
Yeah, no red cards today, so that's good by me.
Do they give out red cards in the Alabama State Championships?
I don't know. Hopefully I don't find out. I've never received one.
Wow, I feel like that's a pretty good streak.
Yeah, well, I got it a lot in AJGA, don't get me wrong. But
Oh,
Okay, there it
none
is.
in the Alabama Golf Association.
got it. Okay, perfect. Well, we got some questions for you. I think just there's a lot of interesting stuff that we want to ask you about, but why don't you start talking about like how you got into golf? Because I think you got into golf kind of late. So why don't you start with that?
Yeah, growing up in Honolulu, Hawaii, I was a competitive surfer my whole life until I was like 12 or 13. And both of my older sisters surfed on the world tour, so I kind of just followed after them and did a lot of competitions and really the same thing as you do in golf, but just for surfing when you're kind of on the come up. And my mom played on the LPJ tour, played college golf, and kind of has been through it all. So I always have kind of been a mama's girl, so I just wanted to hang out with my mom. And then me wanting to just have more time with my mom and my sisters led to me actually liking golf. So, yeah, I started playing when I was like 11 or 12, but I didn't really play in a real golf tournament until I was 13, 14. And I got into my first AJGA kind of as a favor. Someone, I think, put a good word in to help me get into the tournament. And then I finished second and got exempt. So I kind of had a warm welcome. And then, I mean, now I'm here and it's all over. It's so sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about. I want to say, was that first event the Golf Plus event in Austin?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that was one of the first tournaments I ran as a tournament director. And then I remember like coming down the stretch, somebody looks out and they're like, who is that girl that looks like Nelly Corda? And I was like, I don't know, but that swing is pure. And then I remember at the award ceremony, the sponsor almost dropped the trophy. It was catastrophic, but
Oh, I remember that.
saved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a wild time, but it's kind of crazy to think that that was just 2 years after you started playing competitive golf, because that's not something you typically see, just somebody coming out in an AJGA event and finishing so highly so quickly.
Yeah, well, I was actually leading by like 3 or 4 going in the last round, and then I think I sold pretty bad. I just remember getting in the car like crying, waterworks, tears. And my mom was just like, "Scarlett, you're gonna play in so many AJGAs. It's fine, just let it go."
Good job bringing that trauma up, Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I mean, it just blew my mind that I was there for like the welcome to the world of Scarlett Schremmer. That feels pretty cool for me. I don't know.
Just imagine little Thomas Harrison just shaking, handing out awards.
I remember that. And then I remember we were like on the clock in the last round and I'd never played an AJGA, so I don't really know what's going on. And one of the like interns or rules officials is just following my group and I was like freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, are they timing me? I'm gonna get penalized now, I'm gonna lose by a lot. Like, what's going on? And now I know you guys are all friendly, so it's okay. I should have just relaxed a little bit. But I remember that. Yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday.
I feel like, Thomas, you need to do like an overview. Our pace of play system is not mean. We're not out to get you. We're just timing. It's all not a big deal.
Exactly. See, she even said, we're all friendly. There's nothing to worry about. The red card is not a bad thing. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask about the transition from surfing to golf. And like, what were there takeaways from surfing that kind of played into golf, or talk about that?
Yeah, well, just growing up with both my sisters, they were both elite surfers, and it was kind of nice to have 2 kind of built-in training buddies wherever you went. And I was never really alone in the water or alone in the gym or doing anything, just like golf that you need to do to get better. And it was really hard work. I had a really tough coach. And so I think it just taught me a lot of discipline and things like that. But once my sisters got on tour and they started traveling the world and I just wasn't old enough to be doing that yet, it just got really lonely, like being out there all the time in the water by myself. And then playing golf, we lived on the golf course, so it wasn't foreign for me to go out and chip alone or like putt alone or try to just play some holes or anything. And so when you go into something and you don't have to make the adjustment of being alone all the time, for me, it felt a lot more comfortable. So I think that kind of led, me to playing golf more than I was surfing. And then the golf bug is real, it's a real thing. And I think I just got bit by that pretty quickly. But really just to transition, everything you do that you want to be good at takes hard work. So I think I really carried that with me for surfing and just kind of being resilient and using your imagination to try to, make the best out of any situation.
No, I think it's super cool. And you talked about a little bit earlier, being kind of a mama's girl and just wanting to be around your mom. And so I have to imagine that support was very helpful as you're making this transition to something that maybe your sisters weren't as familiar with and something where you're kind of going down a different path.
Yeah, I think it really pushed me a lot, my mom being a former professional golfer, because I was something I realized, oh my gosh, she's better than me at this, and that sucks. Like, my mom's gonna be beating me. So just to kind of have someone to constantly chase, I think has been really nice. And even now, she whoops me in shipping contests. So I think I'm kind of always going to be trying to live up to that and really just make her proud. I feel like I'm playing for myself, but my mom really stopped playing when I was born. So for me, I feel like I want to keep carrying on, the golf that she could have played if she didn't give up her, professional career to raise three daughters.
Do you have any particular golf memories or moments or events that just kind of stand out to you as just being really cool and very memorable for you?
Yeah, well, we have a photo of the first time I outdrove my mom, and I was like 13, and it was literally by 5 feet, and she probably hit the worst drive ever, and I hit it super pure, but she didn't ever tell me that. She's like, "Oh yeah, like, good job, you outdrove me," and so that was a huge moment for me. And then I made my first birdie ever at Pinehurst because my mom got her amateur status back in 2014 and played in the Pinehurst North and South Women's Am. And she took me out after one of the rounds and we like went and played. And I made a birdie and I made this 40-foot putt for birdie. And I kind of walked off the green. I was like, wait, what did I make there? My mom's like, I don't know. What did you make there? I kind of like 1, 2, and 3. I started jumping up and down. I'd never been in a birdie before. And it was right after the Pinehurst U.S. Kids Golf World Championships. And I loved the movie The Short Game. I was never good enough to play the U.S. Kids World Championships. So sad. But for me to make a birdie there, I will never forget it. I think it was on course number 8. So that's just a really good memory for me, and I'll never forget that. But even with the AJGA, like as I've gotten older, those are kind of core memories from when I was younger. But playing the Junior Solheim Cup, playing the Wyndham Cup, and just even being in contention at some of the invitationals and trying to figure out how to win a golf tournament, that stuff really carries with you through college golf and professional golf. And so as an 18-year-old looking back to when I was 11 or 12 and having those core memories, I think when I'm playing professional golf and playing college golf, I'll look back on winning the Junior Solheim Cup with my team, winning the Wyndham Cup, things like that. And I'll be really excited looking back on that.
No, it's super cool too that you get to share some of those experiences with your mom. And I know, like you said, this week your mom's caddying with you. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about that relationship? Because, in AJJ events, you don't always get caddies, but in some of these others, and then moving forward where maybe she's on the bag. I know you've caddied for her before. So tell us a little bit about that dynamic.
Yeah, I love having her on my bag. It's great. I wish she could just caddy for me every single tournament that I play in. And there's honestly been times in AJGAs where I'm a little bit of a yapper sometimes, but not while I'm playing. I just want to have someone to turn around to and be like, look at that bird, like, and just be able to talk to. But your playing partners don't always want to hear that, and I get it. So it's nice to kind of have her even following me where she won't respond to me and won't answer me, but I'm just talking, walking down the fairway, and she's like 20 feet ahead of me. So it's kind of nice to have someone out there. But when I'm caddying for her, it's more of just like I'm trying to learn from the decisions that she makes, because even if the golf shots aren't the same, like she's 59, so she doesn't hit a driver as far as I hit it. But it's really interesting to see her just kind of think through what she needs to do. I played in the U.S. Women's Am in 2024 and kind of made a run. So to have her on my bag there was really special because I felt like that was kind of my first big event. But the year prior, she caddied for me. Yeah, the year prior, I caddied for her at Bel Air at the Women's Am. And she's playing with these college girls who are really, really great players, as you all know. And they hit it so far. She only hits her driver like 230. And so part of the fairway, it was mowed into the green and then down grain. And every single hole for the first 18 holes, she hit it down the down grain part. So like she'd get a couple more yards. And so it was just really impressive to me to be like, oh my gosh, like you hit it that straight. and I caddied for her in the Senior Women's Open. And so just to kind of see how she handles the pressure of big moments and being in contention, I think kind of is a good thing for me to circle back to, even when I'm by myself. But I think it's really underrated to have someone that you're so comfortable with out there. Even at Augusta National, a lot of people I think would rather use a local caddy for the last round at the ANWA tournament. But I just really wanted to have my mom on the bag because if there's anything that's going to help me hit a good shot in front of 30,000 people on the first tee, it's probably going to be having my mom instead of having someone tell me just stay him down the middle of the fairway.
Yeah. And I think that kind of ties into that whole dynamic that we've talked about, and it's coming so much more into play in recent years. So much more people have talked about it, brought to life, just that the mental game is almost at times much more important than the physical or the skill-based part of the game. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about, your experience with different aspects of the mental game? Because, there's a lot of ups and downs, but it sounds like you have a very positive outlook, a very much try to kind of stay relaxed and maybe even focus on anything but the golf at times.
Yeah, I think I'm really positive off the golf course, but I've definitely gone through periods and struggles where I don't feel that way. And even now, you hit a shot and you're just like, oh my gosh, how do I do that? I spend all these hours out here working and practicing, and then I go out and don't execute. And if there's one thing I could go back and tell my younger self playing AJGA, it would just be to not get so down on myself while I'm playing, because I've lost tournaments and had bad rounds just because of one shot I hit where I get really frustrated. So more than anything, I think it's just been a learning experience and getting to play with players that are better than me and getting to see how they react and just kind of learning through trial and error of the mental game. And I think even watching the tour, a lot of the players are just very neutral. It doesn't really matter if they hit a really good shot or a really bad shot. Most of the time you can't even tell.
Yeah, that's good. You've been able to do a lot of cool things, go a lot of cool places with golf, and obviously growing up in Hawaii and being there. How is kind of traveling internationally and traveling so much, how has that really shaped you as a golfer and really as a person as well?
Yeah, before I started playing golf as a surfer, we traveled so much and we'd go to Australia and go to California for USA Nationals every year. So it was a lot of travel. And then living in Hawaii, everywhere you went, it just felt like you were going so far unless you were traveling inter island. And so once I switched over to golf, I had moved to Alabama. So I wasn't living, so far away from everywhere that you go for a tournament. So it actually felt pretty easy. Just like getting on a 2-hour flight, to South Carolina or whatever to go play a tournament. And I think now it can get a little bit exhausting at times when you're traveling so much and you're away from home. But just playing, I've played in so many AJJ events, and with the team events, you kind of develop like an inner circle around you that my mom doesn't go with me to every tournament now. And so just to kind of have people that I know I can kind of fall back on or get dinner with or things like that, just to be able to have them there has been really helpful for me. But I love traveling. I love being on the road. I wish I could just play a tournament every single week.
Well, it's good to hear you have that circle of people, and I have to think a lot of that is kind of what goes into that decision going to the next level, going to college. And so committed to Texas A&M. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that process and kind of how you settled on that? Was it more of a culture thing? Was it the feel of those people around you?
Yeah, well, my commitment to A&M came a little bit late in the whole recruiting, I guess, schedule. I actually committed somewhere else before that, and it didn't end up working out. Just, series of unfortunate events. But I think for everything that happens to you, there's always a little bit of reason that comes with it. And it might not always feel like the most fair thing that's going on, but at the end of the day, I know I'm going where I'm going to be the happiest and where I'm going to have the best resources to play well. Um, the good thing about A&M is we have 4 freshmen coming in, and they're all 3 girls that I've become really close friends with just throughout playing AJGA tournaments. But for me, when I was looking at school, it's just really important to find somewhere with a really good practice facility, and they play a really good tournament schedule, and just having a coach that I feel like I can rely on and feel comfortable sharing, you know, your just feelings with. Golf comes with a lot of self-doubt, and it's not always healthy to hold it in. But at the same time, it's not always good to be like, well, I don't think I can do this. It's just nice to have someone that before you even say it or before you think it, they kind of have your back and they can kind of pump you up a little bit and just kind of be your get back guy.
I like that. That's good. Okay, we asked this, or we try to ask it. Sometimes we forget about all of the juniors that we have on here. But give us the year or when you're going to win your first LPGA Tour event.
The year. Let me think about this.
I mean, you got to think about college a little bit. You got to think about, turning pro.
I think I'm going to win my first LPGA event in the 2028 to 2029 season.
Okay, I like that answer.
It's good.
We've had some that immediately just kind of jump the gun. They're like 2026, and they sit and they're like, wait, that's kind of quick. But I like that. Realistic. Do you have in mind, like, obviously there's a lot of cool amateur events leading up to it with ANWA, things like that. But as you look at that pro schedule, is there like one that you can think that may mean more to you than the others?
Well, I think winning a major is one of the greatest things in golf. Just along with the difficulty of the golf course and things like that. I love watching golf, so I kind of get chills whenever I see anyone win. Watching JJ Spawn win the US Open on Sunday was incredible, and it's just something that I think it's really easy to draw up and say that I'm going to be so happy when I win the US Open, but if I just win a normal tour event, whatever. I don't think that's the case. Anything you win, I'm going to be super pumped to win. I don't care what I win. I don't care if I beat my mom in a chipping contest or if I beat her on the course. I'm happy. So, but there's a tour event in Hawaii at the course that I grew up on that I literally lived on the 14th hole. So I think that would be a really special place for me just to kind of go back and experience that week. But more than anything, you just don't really get to control when you hit good shots sometimes, or when someone else plays better than you. You just don't know. So I think just moving forward with the rest of my career, I'd love to win at Augusta National. I think that would be completely awesome. I had an opportunity, this past spring and didn't capitalize, but just to be there and have that experience, I think makes it extra sweet when you finally get to the top of that hill.
Got any golf superstitions or things that you always do? We were talking to some of our other staff, and they were like, "You have to ask her about the space buns hairstyle." So I'll just leave that one there and let you talk about it.
Well, the space buns, I usually wear them in the final round because I won a tournament one time with it in the final round, and I'd never worn them before. And actually, I got to the tee, and the two girls that I was playing with both made fun of me to each other about my hairdo. And I looked at my mom, and my mom was like, "You got this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I got this." So I went out and won the tournament by like 8 shots. And so that's kind of become my thing. But you know what? In the summer, the part of my hair gets really sunburnt and it really hurts. So I haven't been wearing it very often, but I'm going to pull it out this week. So space buns will be making an appearance. Another thing
It needs to come back.
Yeah, my shoes are always double knotted. And if I have a mark on my visor, I always have it on the left side. So like, it's kind of weird. I have to go here. Most people just do it right here. But I used to be very superstitious, but I would like to say I'm not anymore. But I don't know. They just become routines. And I'm scared to change the superstitions because what if I play bad? I don't want to waste a day because I decided to wear my hair in a ponytail instead of space buns,
I feel like the athletes that say they're not superstitious are kind of just lying. Like everyone's got something. It doesn't.
Yeah, everyone's got something. I don't care what it is. And you won't catch me wearing a hat on the golf course. In practice, I wear a normal hat every day, but in tournaments, I just wear a visor because I played in the Dustin Johnson World Junior in 2023 or 2022. I think it was 2023, and I have never really worn a visor before because I don't like the way it feels on my head, but I decided, I'm just going to wear a hat today because it matched my outfit, and I played terrible. So you're never going to catch me wearing a hat again. It's a visor day every single day.
For somebody who has supposedly no superstitions, that's a lot of superstitions.
Some people are really bad about it, though. Tennis players are crazy about superstitions. At least my golf superstitions, no one can really tell except for me. And now you guys know. So
Let's say it's all stuff that now that you mention it, like I now having watched you play a lot of rounds, be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like I've seen that. All right, I've noticed that. But I also love that you can just point to like the exact moment in your life where this became the superstition.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I used to have this ball mark, and I swore that I putted really good with it, but I lost it. So it's not really a superstition anymore, and I still putt good. So I'm saying that's out of the running. But I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with some more. I sometimes I think about it, and I hit a good shot, and I'm like, wait, what did I do different? And I think about it, and then I do it again, and the next shot isn't as good. So I'm just like, that didn't work. Hopefully, I'll find something else.
That's awesome. I think well, getting away from golf a little bit here. There's just so many fun facts about you that we found with whether it's surfing or whatever. Another thing was talk a little bit about your relationship with Jimmy Buffett and just kind of talk about that. I know it's somebody that meant a lot to you. Just kind of talk about that relationship as well and how that kind of came about.
Yeah, Jimmy and my mom became friends when my mom was like 18 or 19, and they became just very close family friends. And so growing up in Hawaii, he loved to surf, but he didn't really surf well at the time. So with my sisters and I getting into surfing, I think for him it was a perfect opportunity. It's like, oh, awesome. Like I get to spend more time in the water. And he was actually a pretty good surfer and a pretty good golfer too. But my mom played on the LPGA, obviously. So before she had children and the family, she would kind of just give him lessons and they spent a lot of time together just as good friends. So growing up, he was around a lot and just had a really solid impact on my life. My parents split up when I was like 8 or 9. And so to kind of have someone in my life that I felt like really cared about how I felt and not always just how everyone else was doing was just really nice to kind of have that like personal connection. And so when he passed away, I was 16 and my world was just rocked. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is terrible. Like what I don't know." And so that was a really big kind of hit for me. And I think you can even look at my golf. I was just like kind of felt like I was freaking out a little bit. But in Hawaii, instead of saying sir or ma'am, you say uncle or auntie. And so it kind of became this weird thing. They'd be like, wait, is Jimmy Buffett your dad? Is Jimmy Buffett your uncle? No, he's just my friend. So it became like Uncle Jimmy. And so growing up, there was a surf team called Margaritaville Surf Team, which Jimmy came up with, because he's like, well, I want to be able to like say that I surf with you guys. So how are we going to do this? And that kind of became the whole thing and just a lot of lifestyle stuff, but he had a really positive outlook just on life in general. And being that popular and just being kind of in the spotlight all the time, as I grow up now, just looking back on his life, I think the way that he handled things, I hope that I can be like him when I grow up. I don't know if I'll ever grow up, but hopefully when I do, I'll get to that.
See, I feel like that's good because he seems like a guy who obviously had everything together, but never really grew up. Like he still had that kid in him, and just always had that kind of excitement. But also hilarious because again, coming into this, we were fully thinking he may be your uncle. We were just like, I've heard uncle, I've heard family friend. We didn't really know where to go with that.
Yeah, but just very good family friend. But in Hawaii, it's just uncle or auntie. So
See, good to know. You learn something new every day. But speaking of learning something new, is there something that you can tell us that nobody out there knows? Something just secret to the life of Scarlett Schremmer, the golf game, just something to share with the people that they probably didn't know before this.
Um, hmm. Probably something that a lot of people don't know about me is I am the opposite of outgoing when I'm not on the golf course or not talking about golf. Like I never hang out with people or anything because if I'm not playing golf, I just want to relax or go to the gym, then do other stuff that helps me also get better at golf. Um, and a lot of my friends, I think, will be like, if I'm not on the golf course, they're like, "Are you in a bad mood? Like, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Nothing's wrong with me. I'm just relaxing because I've had a very long day on the golf course." So I think golf just kind of makes me happy. Sometimes it makes me very unhappy if I don't perform well, but that's anything. And just to kind of, yeah, I think my personality, I think I'm actually two different people on and off the course. And I try to kind of bring that with me on the golf course, but just to kind of lighten my own mood a little bit. I just think I'm very outgoing out there. Pretty open book on the course. I don't know if I have any like secrets. I don't know if I'm going to tell you. No, just kidding.
I don't know. We thought we might get something crazy out here. You never know. But
I could think about it. I don't think I have any crazy secrets, though.
I mean, we just learned the whole routine with the buns, the hat, the sunburn. So I feel like we got a pretty deep look into the mind and superstition of Scarlett Schremmer.
Oh, yeah. The sun sleeves. The sun sleeve is the other superstition. I wear them every single day because I have really fair skin, but I don't think it has an impact on my golf. I might try not wearing them one day, but if I don't play good, I get worried because I'm going to have to wear them every single day. So,
well, then you're going to be sunburnt and you're going to be mad about a bad round. So you probably just keep the sleeves on.
I know.
And then you have to put on sunscreen. It's all, I hate sunscreen, but wear it. People need to wear it.
Yeah. Even just as an upcoming player, I think it's so easy to look at players on the AJGA who have had successful junior golf careers and be like, oh, well, they've never gone through any, adversity because junior golf is such a small period of time. I think that would probably be the number one thing people don't know about me, or even just a lot of other players. Like, you go through so many highs and lows, even as a teenager playing golf. Any age playing golf, it's so hard. But, I mean, I have weeks and I've had like months where I'm just like, oh my gosh, is this ever gonna get better? Like, am I ever gonna get better? Is the work that I put in ever gonna pay off? And sometimes it feels like it doesn't, but there's usually a light at the end of the tunnel. So if anyone's watching this and they felt that way, I also feel that way. So
wow, I feel like that was like the perfect way to end this. I don't know that we can wrap it up any better than that. So we definitely appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today, especially I know you got a busy schedule playing in the tournament this week. So certainly wish you good luck in that. And we really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hope you guys have a good day. And this is the gym. So
who knows, maybe a quick workout in after this. You never know.
Yeah, get a pump going.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Scarlett. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for being late. Have a good day.
Thanks, Scarlett.
Awesome. Well, another really great guest, Thomas. We've been a good streak of great guests, and really cool to see her, transition from surfing, which is kind of like different, to golf and everything in between. And I know we talk about it every week, but another great golf parent and really great relationship there, and how much that's helped her.
The common theme of junior golf when we talk about the success is the great support system around them. And that doesn't just mean telling them they played a great round. That means actually not putting all that pressure on them. So it's good to hear when she's got that support around her. We've seen it from when she started playing the Junior All-Stars, coming up through the AJGA, now rising through the ranks. And it is, we joke about it, but I really can't remember listening to a professional golfer win a tournament and they ask about, oh, you're getting started in golf in your career, and they're like, I hated it because my parents just made me do this. And there was all this pressure. Like, nobody talks about it like that. So good to see for her the success, and a lot of cool ties there, and the tie to Jimmy Buffett. Like, who doesn't love Jimmy Buffett?
Right.
So
yeah,
very cool story, and just happy she was able to come on.
Yeah, really cool to be able to draw on like the experience of her mom too, playing the golf that she's played, and how that's helped build her and shape her as a golfer, which is really cool. So got a couple of events finishing up this week. I think Rolex Girls is wrapping up this week as we're recording this. I think today's their first or second round, so that'll be cool. And then coming up here next week, we have the RLX Match Play Championship, so that'll be really cool seeing the match play event on the schedule, which we don't really get to see a lot. Yeah,
the match play, where you get to college golf and match play just becomes so much more important. It's good to get that experience. People love that in Wyndham Cup, the team events that we do host, just because of that reason, because it's so critical to college golf, and people want to go win a national championship, and that's how you got to go do it. So very cool, but also just cool for the RLX event being on Bethpage just shortly before the Ryder Cup. Right. We talked about it, but we're 60 days out from the Ryder Cup, and they're they're letting us get out there and play. So it'll be cool to see with all the build out and everything out there for those players. It'll be a little bit of a more elevated experience than it usually is at Bethpage.
Yeah, I mean, the build out should be pretty much done, I would think, at that point, which is just kind of crazy. And I know I don't know if that actually happened, but a couple like media entities were talking about coming out and testing out where some of the tees are going to be at for good camera angles and kind of all that stuff. So it'll be really cool to kind of see the juniors play that and get around it. And so certainly want to be following around on social media kind of what we're doing there. So, but I think that's pretty much all I got. You got anything else, Thomas?
No, it was good to be back in the saddle here, get back on the mic and get going. Like I said, the summer schedule gets pretty busy for us. It's not as easy to find times to record, but once you settle in, it's always good to kind of recap what we've got going on. And the golf world, just ever changing, always got something going on here as we're in major season especially. So
yeah,
happy to get back on and talk about some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, make sure you follow us on social media. If you don't, it's at AJGA Golf on TikTok and on Instagram and also on X. We also are on Facebook, American Junior Golf Association, as well. On YouTube, you can like and subscribe there also. That's where we do that. If you have gotten to this point in this episode, make sure you are liking and subscribing to us on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a good review for us. That always helps us as well. So really appreciate you taking the time today, Thomas, to chat. And until next time.
Always a pleasure, Tim.
Thanks, Thomas.